Okay, this video is about refrigerant. Also, people call it Freon, 410A, R22. You will also hear people call it R410A. Okay, here are our tanks. Most of these are empty. That's really stressful. All right, so R22 is in green tanks. 410A is the pink, okay? These smaller tanks are actually extremely heavy once they're full. These are all empty. Okay, so refrigerant is something that you can't mess with. It'll burn your hand as far as like a freezing burn. You're supposed to be EPA certified to mess with the refrigerant. So the R22 is what is being phased out. And the government knew it was going to take a lot of years to phase out R22 because if an air conditioning system can potentially last up to 20 years, you know, and that would be at the max anymore. You know, I think it was 2006, you know, we couldn't do, you can't even install an R22 system in the way. So it's in the same way that you can't install an air conditioning unit that's less than 13 SEER, we also cannot install an R22 system. They do have something called installing a dry unit. So say somebody has an R22 system in their home and only the outdoor unit is bad. I think you can still buy what's called a dry unit, which is that you just buy the outdoor unit, keep the R22 indoor coil, and then reload it with new R22 refrigerant and you're good to go. But I would always, you know, early on, not understanding, I'd be like, well, can't you just switch out the refrigerant and make it a 410A system? And no, you are, you know, your system, your indoor coil, it's either R22 or it's 410A. You can't just swap out the refrigerant for new refrigerant on the existing systems. Okay, so anyway, so the pink, it's kind of weird because I want to get these confused. Pink is 410A, but you would think because it's better for the environment, it's green, but it's not. Green was always R22. That was always the color of the jug back in the day. So I think they went with as much opposite as they could to try to keep these straight. So these tanks here, that one says 410A. Once we're done with these tanks, or what we have to do is when we have to suck out the refrigerant, so before we replace the system, you have to get all the refrigerant out of it. Remember I told you how heavy it is and whatever. We could get the refrigerant out. We put the refrigerant that we're done with, or say that we're getting out of the system, in these a little bit larger tanks. So you see that guy sitting in the middle with a yellow top? He is an R22 recovery tank. This is a 410A recovery tank. That pink right there is a 410A recovery tank. Those come back here and need to get dumped into these tanks. That's a 410A reclaim tank. Reclaim is more serious. We're going to have that there. And then we have a company come and pick it up and they pay us for it. So, you know, kind of like back in the day, Coke bottles and getting money for them, or aluminum cans. That's how this system works. We want to take these, because each one of these basically empty guys, they each have a tiny bit of 410A. So we're going to take that 410A, we're going to put it in that tank, and we're going to take the little bit we have left in our green tanks and put that in the other tank, which that might be an R22 reclaim. I don't know, I'm not seeing that on there. But one of the bad things you'll ever hear is if we reclaim both refrigerants in one tank, if accidentally some of the pink and the green get mixed together, they are worthless. So comparison, the last time we had 410A or R22 sent to the reclaimer and they went through it, we got a check for, I want to say, between $2,000 and $3,000. If there is any hint of R22 in what should be a 410A reclaim, we get $0. So that is a huge difference. That's why Dad has gone to the point of taking these tanks and spray painting those pink, because it doesn't matter if it's just written in Sharpie, somehow that will get confused. So these systems are really important on the refrigerant. So we're supposed to be EPA certified to handle them, to handle refrigerant. This is something also that can be huffed. A problem that we've had that is kind of a problem is guys, or you know, maybe teenagers or whatever, getting into these ports. Here's an air conditioner. Getting into those ports and then huffing the gas. What it basically does is it freezes their lungs a little bit to where oxygen, I think, builds up in the brain, and that causes a high. The problem is it can also kill you. So there was a story of a technician found hunched over in the back of his truck, leaning over a refrigerant tank, and died from over huffing the refrigerant. Killed himself. So that's all.